WFUZ-TV, Coastal Alabama, Northwest Florida, the People's Voice.
Hello, welcome to WFUZ-TV. I'm Blair Castro, and I'm here with Thomas Jenkins. Today we have Randy Farris in the studio, who's running for mayor of Summerdale. Mr. Farris, thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure.
I'm just going to dive right in and ask you, why do you want to be mayor of Summerdale?
Well, that's a good question. When I moved into Summerdale, I started becoming involved in seeing how the town was being run. And there were a couple of personal friends of mine that were on the police department that were terminated for what I thought to be not very sound reasons. So I started attending the council meetings and seeing how things are done and how decisions were made. And just that trail has brought me to the point that I'm here now, wanting to run for the mayor, because I firmly believe that I can run our town's resources much more efficiently than the current administration is doing now.
Can you talk a little bit about how it was for you? How did you feel trying to get engaged in Summerdale politics? What it was like showing up to these city council meetings and workshops and navigating that process?
It was frustrating. I started attending the meetings, and the very first few meetings I went to, I was met with a lot of serious contention of, what are you doing here? What do you want? Why do you want to sit here and take all these notes? At all the meetings, I would take a pad and a pen with me, and I would just write down the notes and the numbers they gave and the questions that were asked to them and the responses. So it's been burdensome trying to go through and just see how our town runs. And it shouldn't be that way. We have a small town. We should have everything out, open. Everyone can see what's going on. And currently, we don't have that with our administration. So it's been tough trying to get answers or just to be there and understand what they're doing.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the police department in Summerdale specifically. I saw on your campaign page a little discussion about that and some of the struggles that the police department is facing. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that. And Thomas has experience as a police officer in a small town too, so maybe we can hear about that perspective.
When we came to move into the Summerdale area in 2019, my youngest son and one of the police officers had been on 2 deployments, one to Afghanistan and one to Iraq. And this young man was extremely sharp, a go-getter and everything. And he was butting heads with the mayor because he was trying to improve and do things for the department by bringing in other police departments and doing classes and how to improve and things like that. Well, the mayor didn't like that because he wasn't doing what he thought he should be doing. So he was terminated for a reason I thought was extremely weak. I called the mayor's office and was told in essence that he's the mayor, he can do what he wants to. So I said, okay, fine. Well, then along comes the chief of police who supported this officer who was terminated. And then all of a sudden, there were charges brought up against him because his wife is married to, or her brother is married to the mayor's daughter. And they were having a family squabble, and it rolled over into the chief of police. And so the charges were brought against him again that were extremely weak. And then he was terminated. So that was really the catalyst that made me decide we can run this town better and have more transparency to what is going on in this town. So I decided to run for mayor.
Sounds like the epitome of small town politics. Family squabbles and people fighting over little things that are seemingly petty or weak arguments just to get their way.
Well, it is. The mayor has on the council, his sister sits on the council. She's been there for 25 years. Now, she was duly elected, so that's all above board, but he's got her there. He has put his daughter on the planning and zoning board, a position that I've been trying to get on for a while. And then there's a board of accounting or where you appeal things. I forget the exact name of that board, but has recently put one of his distant cousins on that board. And I actually have an application for that board to be put on there, and I didn't get it. So yes, unfortunately, small town politics, I said before, if you start looking at this onion and peeling back layers, it gets ugly as you peel back each layer. So small town politics is going strong in our town of Summerdale, and we need to stop that. We're too small to have that.
It seems like nepotism and favoritism, the smaller the town, the greater those issues become, in my experience.
I think so, but I have a good friend who recently passed away. He was a mayor of a small town in West Alabama for 42 years. But the difference between him and our current mayor is he was involved in the community. He did things for the people. He got out and attended all of the town functions. And also he was there for the people. We don't have that here in our current administration. So it's real easy to get caught up in that. I know another mayor in another small town in this area, and they don't have the same type of problems that we do. It all seems to be originating from here per one family that runs this little town.
One thing we were talking about with Angie Swiger the other day was that the mayors don't seem to have an association or get together. Have you seen anything like that where they actually get together and share ideas and how they could help each other improve each other's townships and municipalities?
That's a good question. Speaking with another of the mayors in a small town and then another mayor in a little larger town here in this area, there's not a group so-called mayor get together, but one of the mayors expressed to me that every so often, maybe every other month, some of the mayors get together for coffee just to sit around and talk about this and talk about that.
That is good.
And I was told our mayor has never been to one. I can't imagine why, because I'm a consensus builder and I believe in taking ideas from one, ideas from another, and putting them all together and come up with a better idea. It doesn't have to be all my decision. I believe in taking everybody's opinion, putting them all together, and then, hey, let's go from here. That doesn't seem to be happening in our current administration.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that firsthand with a small town department, and I watched the town grow, including its department, and they took a different, larger town from a different part of the state and used it as a model to bring it up to standard, to CALEA law enforcement national accreditation standards, so that their law enforcement could be good enough to back the growth that the economy was providing. What does Summerdale have as far as law enforcement infrastructure to accommodate growth? And is Summerdale experiencing the same kind of growth that Baldwin County in the general coastal area is experiencing right now?
We, as a little town, we are experiencing all the growth that we're having in all the surrounding counties. South Baldwin County is one of the fastest growing areas in the state, if not in the region. So yes, we are experiencing that. I really, from what I've heard other police officers talk to me, and I've heard more from the police officers that are no longer employed, who have been terminated. They still keep the grapevine open. We don't have any type of support system for our policemen to go in and try to find something that's going to be beneficial for our community. And yes, I'm all about taking something from another city and say, hey, look, guys, this is what they're doing. It seems to work out pretty good for them. Why don't we take that general idea, tweak it down for us, because one size doesn't fit everybody. You have to make it fit yourself, and apply that for us. We can do that. We can do several things to improve our little town. I just don't see that being done.
Does the current administration see a need for improvement with that department right now, do you think? Do you think that they think it's fine as is?
I think that the current administration thinks it is fine as is because they run it like they want to. Mm-hmm. They run that police department that way. They run the fire department that way. They run the public works department that way. So as long as our current mayor puts the word out and says, this is what I want to do, then that happens. Or the rub is, if you don't do what the mayor says, well, then all of a sudden you're finding things come up against you and you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an all-inclusive club, but a lot of the employees are not in the club.
Now, where's the protection and accountability for that? Where do you take that when your government has become so corrupt that it poses a danger to you, either fiscally or personally? Where do you go?
That's a good question that I can't answer. I don't know. Talking to some of the ones who have been terminated, I understand that they have appealed their cases to the state ethics board. Mm-hmm. And that's the only thing that I can say is that the ethics board, from what I've been told, knows that there are problems here with some of the policemen, especially the policemen, and they're looking at that. Where it goes, I don't know. So the only thing, my answer to that would be proceed it to the state ethics board and maybe the state the elections commission and say, hey, this is what's going on. That's the only thing, the only recourse that I know of would be to go up to the state board.
Yeah, I am hoping that with the changing of hands in the governor's seat, that there might be some forward momentum in getting things done on the local level.
I would hope so. Our current governor she's there. She's done some things for our state which are good. She's let some things that would be good for our state slide by. So I would like to see if the one who's just put his name in the hat, Senator Tuberville, if he's elected, I'd like to think he brings the mentality of, hey, we've got to go. We've got to win the game. Hey, so what does it take? Let's put our best players in and let's shift them around. Don't keep doing the same old thing. Let's try something new. So I would like, and I hope that would be in effect if he is elected, that we can get someone who has the wherewithal to say, okay, look, we need to correct a lot of things. So let's start from a local level.
Yeah, as long as there's a recognition that there is problems that need fixing and forthright,
yes.
I think I can get behind that.
Yes.
I haven't really studied his platform as of yet.
We just need to have accountability for our elected officials, and whether it be the county commissioner or, the board, council, they do something wrong, and they need to be accountable to the mayor. If the mayor does something wrong, who would he be accountable to? I don't know of anybody, unless it would be. Take it and appeal that to the state ethics. I don't know. I don't know that the level of the chain of command, I don't know what that is once you get to that level.
We've tried to reach out to a representative and not ever heard any kind of return communication. So we thought perhaps that you could go to like a senator or a state representative and blow a whistle on things, but you can't hardly. I mean, Blair's experienced trying to write to all the municipalities and the county around to the different agencies and not getting any return communication back.
Yes, there's a severe lack of transparency and communication, and it kind of boggles my mind because in other states, I think their feet are held to the fire a lot more and they're kind of required to communicate with people. They have laws in place where they have to be transparent and they have to respond to certain things. It may not be the response you want, but they're required to at least engage because they're representative of the citizens. Here, there's nothing to really force your leadership to engage with you. So it creates this very isolated silo of people working and other people whatever, we're not going to be paid attention to. And I think that's really bad for civics in general.
We have for the state, and it's for all the states, I believe, a office called the League of Municipalities, and they are the ones that supposedly govern how a municipal is ran. And I was checking on some things when I first started entertaining the idea of running for mayor, I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I need to see what are some of the requirements. And so I reached out to the League of Municipality, and I got some paperwork back and what to do, calendar dates and things like that. I was told by someone who's been in state government for a while that whenever you talk with them, and this is hearsay, but whenever you talk with them, their goal is to take care of the current administration, good or bad. And so you have to be a little careful when you ask certain things because you may not get the answer that you really need. Now, I don't particularly like painting with a broad brush like that, but when I'm told something and someone I think is very credible, then I have to take that and just store that away and say, okay, I'll put that in the little pocket and keep it for further reference.
True.
So I would think that you could go into them and state, say, look, this is going on. What are the rules? Well, I've called them before, and then right off the bat, they ask me my name, where I live, what city I'm in, things like that. So they ask a host of questions before they'll answer a question for you, and that's understandable. But it's like, wait a second, you're priming your answers before I even get to them. So just another little seed of doubt there that you have to be aware of.
So let's go into your background a little bit. Could you tell us a little about what you do for a living, what you did before? What experience do you think transfers to your leadership skills that would make you a good mayor for Summerdale?
Okay. After graduation from high school, decided I was going to work for the summer before I went into college, and I was blessed to be hired by Delta Airlines in Meridian, Mississippi, my hometown. And so I thought, well, I'll be here for a few years and then I'll go into college. Well, that few years turned into 29 and a half years. I worked in Meridian, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, Salt Lake City, Utah, Fort Worth, Dallas. That's where I met and married my wife, and then retired in Nashville. I was in ground supervision and public service contact, and so I've dealt with huge numbers of people just because of the large cities that we've worked in. And working with them, trying to resolve a situation that is agreeable to everybody, not just what's best for you or the airline, but what's best for the customer. That translates into my personality, which is I enjoy talking with people and working with people, and working in management through these years, you learn there's give and take. And I think that will easily transfer over into working as a mayor for this little town. I've been involved in working with civic organizations. When I was out in the Fort Worth, Dallas area, I chaired a committee that we gave monies to a fund. Into that year, we'd disperse those funds to different organizations, United Way, Red Cross, some of those that's easily recognized. I became involved with an organization called Freedom Ride, and it was a therapeutic horseback riding service for especially kids and young adults. And I met a guy there, Mike, he and I have been fast friends for 43 years. So working with that, you learn how to deal with people with certain needs and certain handicaps, if you will. And then I worked in Tennessee. I worked for Meals on Wheels, still with the airlines. I did Meals on Wheels, taking food out to the needy and the homebound and things like that. I've been involved in big churches, small churches, on boards and things of that nature. So I've had a lot of dealings in a lot of different situations with different people. So I feel that my people skills are very agreeable with working as a mayor for a little small town.
What would you say as you go out and talk to citizens, what is their primary concern and what do they want to see changed in Summerdale in the most immediate?
The two main concerns that I hear the most is, the first is, why are we having so many subdivisions come in? We don't want all this subdivision. We like our little town, our little small town, and I like that also. But my comment has been, well, you can't stay stagnant. You got to go forward or you're going to go backwards. You just can't sit there and tread water. So I believe in a small growth, controlled growth. So that has been the main concern, is slow down on all the subdivisions coming in. And the next one is, why do we have such a large turnover in our firemen and in our police department, especially our police department? We've had such a huge turnover. I don't know of anyone that has ever worked and retired through the city or the town of Summerdale as a police officer. They've never been there, been employed that long, because they just don't do what the mayor wants. If you don't do what the mayor wants, well, then you find yourself on the outside looking in.
That can be difficult as an officer dealing with that. That was part of my reasons of not being in it anymore. It was really difficult. Council members, mayors, rumors of corruption, and your reasonable person doesn't want to be stymied by a corrupt council, mayor, or anything like that. So you're not going to keep good officers.
It's that being a policeman and law enforcement officer is extremely difficult. While I was in Tennessee, I entertained the idea of maybe becoming a weekend warrior with the sheriff department. So I took a civilian law enforcement course, really enjoyed that, and looked forward to maybe going on and getting on with the sheriff department. Well, things didn't work out, so I never got that. My son was in military police. He's been a law officer. And so I understand completely what the men go through and the dangers they go through. When they put on their badge and walk through the door, they're not guaranteed to come back home that night. So you want to support them in every way that you can. And even if it's something you don't like, but it's good for them or either good for the community, well, then you have to understand this is the best for the community.
Sure.
I don't see that happening with our current administration. It's my way or the highway.
And that's really scary, because you really want experienced officers, especially as you start to grow.
Yes.
Because the elements that come in are going to be more dangerous and require more manpower to contain. And there's just no way around it.
Well, in our small community, our people look to the law enforcement officer as support. Yeah. And so all of a sudden, I've had people say, "Who's that new police officer over there? What's his name? When did he come on? What happened to so and so?" So that's been the concern: is why do we have such a huge turnover? Because they can't get to know somebody. We had one officer had been there. He was terminated and is now working for another police department. He was well liked by the community. Everybody knew him by first name basis, and he didn't do what the mayor wanted. And so he's out the door. He's on the outside looking in. So we don't have that continuity of having someone there that we feel like we can talk with walking down the street. If you see one, walk up and talk with them. A lot of people don't have that familiarity to want to do that. So we need to have consistency.
For sure. Community policing is is probably the most important element of policing.
Granted, yes.
I wanted to ask a little bit specifically about a post you had on your Facebook page where you were talking about the different salaries of the mayors in Baldwin County and how they're reflective of the population, or how rather that they're not reflective, they could be. Can you talk about that a little bit, and the money that the Summerdale mayor makes in comparison to maybe other larger cities?
The information that I posted was from a 2020 financial report, and we being Summerdale, were one of the highest paid councils, mayor of any of the other surrounding counties. I think now I posted the mayor's annual salary was $20,000. I believe what I was told is that he's currently making $28,000. Back at the end of this year, the first of this year, into last year, the first of this year, there's a time frame where the council has to put forth new numbers if they want to get a raise or change their salary. And I questioned, it was on one of the council, the agendas, and that evening nothing came about it. So I questioned the clerk later about that and asked about that. And I was told, well, they don't have to make a decision until X date, whatever. So I said, okay. Well, that day came around and I never heard anything. So after the day and the window had closed, I called the clerk back and I asked him about, was anything ever decided on that? And the response was, no, they decided to keep the salaries as is. There'll be no raise this year. I don't know how the salaries are determined. I don't know what makes them think that they can be more, they being as a group. I don't like classifying folks as a group, but they're in this group. Why did you have to make that much more than the surrounding little towns? And have not gotten a good answer. Of course, the answer is, well, it's none of your business. That's my salary. Granted, it is. But the flip side of that is, I am a citizen of this town. Your salary comes from my taxes, my input. So I do have a right to know what you make. And I don't know what they determined how to raise it, and how they got to be so much more expensive, higher than the other surrounding little towns. So I really couldn't give you a solid answer to that, except that they do make more than our surrounding areas.
I wanted to ask a little about city council meetings, agendas, finding minutes, finding a budget. How accessible do you feel that information is? I know we talked a little bit about you wanting to start more like live streaming and having technology brought into these meetings, because from what I understand, that capability isn't really there for the city of Summerdale at this moment.
Exactly. When I first started going there and attending the meetings, I would sit back and make notes, and there was no agenda posted. And so I questioned about that. And so shortly thereafter, the clerk started posting an agenda, and we have a workshop the week before the actual meeting. And so I post an agenda for the workshop and an agenda for the meeting. So I collect both and I'll make notes on those. So being able to see the minutes and actually see the budget, when I made comments about that nothing was open and available and transparent, at the last council meeting, I was called out by name that yes, that the council and the mayor's office was fully transparent, and anybody could get any information that they wanted. This, all they would have to do is go up and ask for that. Well, that's true on the surface, but it's kind of hard getting something whenever you're asked for something and they say, well, I'll get back to you, and it's not there ever done. So it's not as accessible as we're being told that it is now. And I think that needs to change. Yes, I think my personal opinion is I wish everyone would go to the meetings and actually see how the decisions are made, how people's body language, because you can say one thing with your face and your body says something totally different. Some of the body language, how some people are talked to in almost a condescending manner, and if you're not there to see it, and all you can do is hear what I have to say about it, even though I see it. So we live stream it if you can't, and I understand everybody's busy nowadays, young families. If we live stream it, if you can't make the meeting, then you can go back and look at that meeting later via the live stream, and it would be archived. So you can go back and look at it the next week or a month later and say, well, hey, I missed that second meeting. Let me go back and look at that. So that would be available. So that's what I say about transparency. Everybody needs to know how things are done at our council meetings. Need to see who does what and how the decisions are made.
Absolutely.
That's a great point about the body language. It's exactly what we've experienced going to these county commission meetings, because you can look at an agenda and see, okay, they approved this, that, and that, but you don't really see how it was approved, the looks they give each other, the looks they give the public comment people, which is sometimes us, the smirks they give. There's a lot of body language going on that is very telling.
Yes, I've experienced all of that. I've been looked at like I'm a three-headed ogre sitting out there taking notes. So I fully understand that. And that's why you need to be there to see it. If not, well, then have it on live stream, have it videoed. So if somebody wants to look at it later, then it's accessible so they can understand, well, Jane Doe over here was against what John Doe wanted, but yet they voted because Jane Doe was intimidated because of John Doe's presence and his demeanor. So that's what needs to be done, what needs to be seen. So I'm all about transparency. We need to see and we need to hear what's being said and what's being done.
They really don't like it when you take notes. That's
Oh,
true.
no, no. And the thing about it is I've been attending the meeting since I was looking at that the other night, and I think my first notes were back in the end of 21, so 2021, so 4 years. A couple of years into it, one of the council members called me and say, would you go back and look at your notes and what do you have so-and-so saying about this situation? I go back, rifle through, find the date, and I go, this is what was said. And okay. So they don't like it because I take notes. At this last meeting, they were giving out bids on the lawn service. They had different bids come in to who's going to get the bid to cut our grass, the contract to cut the city's or the town's grass in the lawns. And they gave a number out, and I didn't catch all of it. And after they finished, I raised my hand and I said, excuse me, I didn't catch what was the first part of that. And I was given a look like, who do you think you are? I am a concerned citizen. I just like to know. I like to see where our money's going. Back to transparency, and I have 3 planks that I'm running out. And the first is term limits. We need term limits. Now, granted, statewide, for municipal employee or municipal elected officials, we don't have term limits. Whenever they're elected, for as long as they want to be elected. But our current mayor has been in office for 33 years. That's 8 cycles. 2020, nobody ran against anyone on the council or the mayor, so therefore they didn't have an election. There was de facto, they were slid right back in. The mayor's sister has been on the council 25 years. Another member has been on there 21 years. Another member, 18 years. And the final 2, 11 years. I understand if you're doing something good, well, then continue doing that. But if you're not doing something good, if you're running the place like you want to run it, then you need to be out of there. I believe in 2-3 year limits. And if I'm blessed to win, I'll only be there maybe 2, maybe just a 1. I don't want to do this forever. And my second plank is transparency. We've talked about that. Let's live stream things. My third plank is accountability. Why don't we know where the money's going? A lot of the Delta Airlines, each year we get a prospectus of what's going on. And we're a huge corporation. Why can't a little small town do something like that? End of the year, end of the fiscal year. Why can't we say, okay, we cost X amount of dollars and we spent X amount of dollars. Are we above budget? Are we below budget? What are we? So what do we follow? Why can't that be published? I'm all about that. We can do that once a year. That's not, to me, it's not such a big thing. So term limits, transparency, and accountability. Those are the things that I feel strongly about.
For the accountability part, I wanted to ask, how does the city of Summerdale usually operate when it comes to citizen input? Do they just kind of start projects, or do they have workshops or town halls where they let people come in and voice how they feel about a project before it starts? Because what I've noticed in Baldwin County is that a lot of cities don't really engage with citizen input. They just do something, and then later they're like, oh, I don't like this, but they never really had a chance to oppose it because they had no idea it was even happening.
Guilty as charged. The only way that citizens have any input is like whenever there was one intersection that was just a two-way stop, and the traffic going east-west was horrible, and there was numerous wrecks there. And so the council decided to have a public hearing. And so it was all posted, and people would come in and talk about it and say, why isn't this done? Why isn't that done? Well, we did, our four-way stop was put there for the intersection, and the incidents have gone down there. But that's the only way that the public has any input if they have a public meeting, public hearing, and then they'll come in. But a lot of times, unless it's something, a big situation like in traffic deaths or a new traffic light or something of that nature, the people didn't know about it. I know because I attend the meetings. And then when I ask the questions, I put my hand up, ask a question, and I'm treated like, you don't need to know. You're not part of this council, so why are you asking now?
Well, Nick.
So getting back to your question, there's no accountability. There's none. The mayor and the council pretty much do what they want to. And then if the public has a problem with that, well, then they'll complain about it, or they'll burn up the mayor's phone line complaining about it. But it's done. They did what they wanted to do.
I think a lot of people don't realize this, but in some cities, I don't know if it's like this everywhere, and there's going to be a construction project, a development, a neighborhood put in, they will post physically a sign on a pole that says notice of public hearing. And that'll be the only place it's published is physically on a pole on that parcel of land. So you have to drive by, pay attention to this little bitty font, get out your car, look at it and be like, oh, they're having a public hearing on this piece of land. Otherwise, they're just going to develop it. And nobody's going to see that realistically or take the time to engage with that. It's not usually published online because I don't think that's a legal requirement a lot of the time. They just have to post it physically.
They post it on the telephone poles, and then they'll post it right outside the town hall entranceway. They've got a billboard up there, and it's encased with plastic, and they'll put notices up there. I've seen those, and that's pretty much the only way that they get the word out. I think they have made some movement in trying to do more information on the Facebook page. Summerdale does have a Facebook page, and it's run, has a heavy input from the mayor's daughter. So it has a little bit of a lean to what information is put up there. But that movement is starting to happen.
And just so people are aware too, so the mayor here in Summerdale's sister, I believe, is on the county commission.
Correct.
And then they have a nephew who is running for judge.
Circuit judge, correct.
So this family is embedded all throughout politics in Baldwin County, and to try to unseat them, especially when he's been in office for 33 years, is a very bold challenge and a large feat. What would you say to people who think, oh, like, what are you doing trying to contest this family who's been here for generations?
It comes back to me of term limits. Look how the town has been run for 33 years. And I've had people just last week, I was talking to someone and I referenced that I live in Summerdale. Oh, you live in Little Chicago. Well, don't like to hear that, but that's pretty much the consensus around the area of this town. It's run by one person, by one family, and that's it. And we don't need that. We need to have new ideas, new blood, new people in, just to, again, back with the consensus building, is have new ideas and let people come in and say, well, how about this? How about that? Let's try this. But we need to have some sort of new park area for our town. We don't have any type of full-size basketball court, and we have a lot of young people. My son is playing a young adult basketball league. He's asked me several times, y'all need to get something down there. We can bring in lots of people just to play ball. We don't have that. We have a little three fields. We have a little league, Babe Ruth, and then I think maybe the Pee Wee League, something like that. That's all we got. We don't have any attractions for young families with kids. We need to bring more things in that are family friendly with kids. We don't have that. So that's another thing I would like to see us do is, hey, we're going to keep people in here and we want to keep our young families here. Well, then, by golly, let's give them something to do. Because right now, we don't have anything. We don't have anything for youth. When I was in Tennessee, a good friend of mine was a pastor, and he started on Friday nights a little club for all the teens to come up, and they would go up and play music. And I was one of the bouncers, if you will. And, man, I heard a lot of music that for this old guy, it was kind of like, that's not really my style. But the kids were coming up there. They were off the streets. They weren't getting in trouble. They were laughing. No drinking, no smoking unless they went outside. And things like that for the kids. We don't have anything like that here.
Mm-hmm.
We need things for our young people. We need things for our kids.
That's a fear that I have with small towns like Summerdale or Robertsdale, is that they're going to struggle to retain young talent and young families, and they're going to lose that growing population to bigger cities outside like Daphne or Foley or Fairhope.
And I concur with that. And I have talked with some of the older people. And that's one of the things that I realized and learned quickly is when I put my name in the hat, I know that a lot of the older people in town have watched the current mayor grow up as a little boy. So, I knew him as a little guy. So they're going to vote for him no matter what. I know that's a vote that I can't get, but I've tried to go in and touch base with some of the younger families and say, look, we have a great little town here. We can improve it. We don't have to go great guns and start looking like Daphne or Foley or some other areas. Not knocking them, but that's, we have such a unique little town here. Mm-hmm. And we can improve that. But it takes slow, controlled improvement in giving things there for the young people, the families. We don't have a daycare. How many young families do we have? My next door neighbor, his wife is a teacher at the school that I drive a school bus for. She takes her child to Foley to the daycare before she goes to work. Why can't we have one there just right down the street or somewhere in our area that's much more convenient?
Okay.
We don't have that.
It's been interesting talking to different candidates for different seats in the different towns around Baldwin County and seeing that the common platform is responsible growth. People have been in office for too long and doing things that keep locals around. It's just been interesting that is a common countywide denominator in the upcoming elections.
And they're all good things. And if someone will espouse that and then stay true to that, well, then that's wonderful. If I'm not going to go out and promise the world, because I know that I can say things that make people think, well, he's the right guy, we need to do this. But I'm not going to go out and say things that I don't think are achievable and willing to stand up in support, because you have yourself and you have your character and you have to live up to that. And I have a servant heart. I believe in helping people. And if I say I'm going to do something, well, then I'm going to do it, or it's going to be a very good reason as to why it's not done. So we can offer so many things to so many people, but we have to follow through and do it with sincerity and with total conviction. What's best for the community, not what's best for me or my family.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in getting involved in Summerdale politics, or you want to support Mr. Farris for mayor, you can find him on Facebook, Randy Farris for Summerdale Mayor, and you can check out his website, you can give him a call, or you can reach out to him personally.
And I'll leave you with two things that I always do when I'm out knocking on doors. I ask everybody for two things. One, I ask for your vote, and please go vote. If you say we need a change, but you don't go vote, well, then we're going to get the same old thing again. So please vote. And then I earnestly solicit your prayers, because I need your prayers. So please vote and please pray. Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us today, and good luck.
Thank you.